about 10-15 minutes, and the best part of the presentation is Dr. Lee, our physiatrist that works with our rehab program at Mountain View. So that is what I hope to provide you with today. I hope you have the opportunity to ask me questions. I like to refer to myself as an open book. So if you have questions at all, we're happy to answer them. So first of all, before I get started, I am super curious. How many of you have ever been a patient or have received care at Mountain View Hospital? Very number of you. Good. Did we do a good job? Yeah. Good. That makes me feel good. So I'm a nurse at heart. My background is as a nurse. So as I moved into the leadership role and in hospital administration, it was always important to me to make sure that we were focusing on patients. And of course, that'd be those of you that are in our care. So what I wanted to do is give you a little overview about the hospital and about me and about what's going on with our journey, and then leave enough time at the end for questions and answers. So making sure you can still hear me okay, right? Okay. So first of all, about me, like I said, I am a nurse turned administrator. I just moved here in January from Anchorage, Alaska, where I spent 7 years. Has anybody ever been to Alaska? Best trip ever, right? So I got 7 years of that with my husband and my daughter, who is now 19. And we had moose in our backyard, we had bear, we had all the experiences, but what we didn't have is nice warm sun all the time. And we would come to Las Vegas for our vacations, like seriously, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year. So when Mountain View Hospital opened up as an opportunity, I waved my hand high because I was ready for warm and I knew that this was a great organization. So my daughter is now moved to Denver. She's going to nursing school, which makes Mama very proud. And my husband and I are here and enjoying all that Las Vegas has to offer. Our mission statement, I think, is what inspires me the most about Mountain View, and is actually our parent company's mission statement too, is that above all else, we're committed to the care and improvement of human life. So every day, at the end of the day, what we do is to take care of our patients like family. Our vision is that we want to be the premier provider of health care and providing exceptional care. So let me ask you this, how often do you hear the word health care and exceptional in the same sentence when you're in the media? Probably not very often, right? You know, it's expensive, it's scary, it's challenging, it's cumbersome, but we want to change that. Our goal is really about making sure that people have control, they have a voice, they feel like they're cared for and cared about. And of course, our values are important to us too. I always make a joke that I say we don't let mean people work at Mountain View. We let people that are on our team truly care about taking care of others like family. And that is something that we're very, very proud of. And Mountain View has a long history. Now, first of all, we just celebrated 25 years in the community just this last summer, and that was a real milestone of many years to come. But over the course of time of Mountain View, that they have enjoyed the quality accolades that they get from other organizations that rate hospitals to say, this is where you can get great care. And they look at things like infection rates, they look at patient satisfaction, they look at readmissions after discharge, and so forth. And we have actually had a string of A's from Leapfrog, which is a national organization that ranks hospitals. So it isn't just me telling you we're fabulous. We have a whole bunch of other providers, other awards that we win that will tell us externally that they measure it objectively. I just said the 25th anniversary, and the coolest thing is that we're actually breaking ground. We're just breaking ground on an expansion. Because as you know, the north side of Las Vegas is growing, north and west. So we are adding 20 beds of emergency services and then 64 beds of inpatient within the next couple of years. We intend to keep up with the growth of the community. We intend to serve, and the hospital was founded by members of the community. I was rounding today, and I can't even tell you how many employees that are still there. And it's so fun because they look at that facility as their home and their family. Okay, so COVID has not been fun. Nobody's had fun with COVID at all, right? It has been scary, it has been daunting, and it has been a journey across the United States. No different than what you've experienced here. And actually, it's been a little worse here based on what I've seen. But we essentially shut down everything except for emergency services back in March of 2020. And it has been a journey to figure out what can we keep open safely, what is appropriate for visitation, how do we take care of families when their family members, they're talking to them via an iPad or on the phone and they can't be at the bedside, and it's really heartbreaking. But what I'm happy to share is it's actually getting better. Our COVID numbers are coming down, and we are in a far better position to be able to manage than we were before. Now, I'm hoping that everybody in this room is vaccinated, and I'm not to judge, I'm here to encourage, because what I will tell you is the patients in the hospital that are the sickest are the ones that have not been vaccinated. We lost a 27-year-old last night, and he had battled from COVID, and wouldn't have had to happen. So it is heartbreaking for our staff, it's heartbreaking for people to understand, but this virus takes hold in a way that is scary, and it's at any rate, thank you for getting vaccinated. But we manage our environment, we protect our employees, we're all getting boosters again. I just had my booster last week, and we are all aspiring to make sure that we are healthy to be able to take care of our community. So if you have any questions about any of that, please feel free to ask me. And this is just a little, we had to keep it fun, right? We had to keep the spirits of the employees up because they are in there day in, day out. Day shift, night shift, 24 hours a day, serving our community, doing our very best. And if you've been in an emergency department, sometimes it's been a little backlog. And that's hard for us too. So we're trying to do a good job of getting patients through and cared for. But there are times that we had 50, 60 patients more in the hospital than we had beds for. And that's not just Mountain View, that's every hospital in Las Vegas. So again, the encouragement to take care of yourselves, to manage your hygiene, to take your vaccines, and take care of yourselves couldn't be more important than it is right now. But we've been doing things to bring the spirits up of our employees. I actually got myself in a dunk tank a couple weeks ago. And I said, if it will make you laugh to dunk the CEO of the hospital in a dunk tank, I'll do it. Anything to make them laugh. I'm also proud of the fact that Mountain View is a teaching hospital. And we have, as you know, with Las Vegas and Nevada growing, we need to be able to keep up with the demand when it comes to providers and experts. So everything from a GME program where we're training over 240 physicians every year. We're bringing on new residents, and those are feeders for physicians that we will need in our community. We also have a pharmacy residency program where we're teaching pharmacists and pharmacy students and preparing them for hospital-based care, because that's another area of need. As you know, when you're in the hospital and you're sent home with a list of prescriptions, there's a lot of work going into figuring out what do you take what was at home, what do you take when you're in the hospital, how you marry that, and the pharmacists are really important when it comes to that service. We have a paramedic program. We're supporting our community that way as well and training brand new paramedics and giving them the opportunities to learn in the classroom as well as in the field. And that's a program that we started that also strengthens our ability to respond across the community. And last but not least, of course, is a nursing program that supplements the nursing schools. It's called the STAR RN program. We take brand new grads right out of school and then we put them through another 16 weeks of training that basically gets them up to speed with being a 2-year nurse, someone with 2 years of experience. And that feeds our employee base too. So all these things are helping us be stronger, and they're all programs that I believe are designed to give us longevity in healthcare, because we're on a journey. One service that we brought in recently is called bone marrow transplant. And if you're not familiar with that, it's essentially a treatment that's provided to people with leukemias that need to have their bone marrow transplanted so they can stimulate new growth of their blood vessels. So this is something that people traditionally had to travel to California or Utah for, and now we have it available right here in Las Vegas. We have a nationally recognized expert physician, as well as our local providers, and are able to provide this service right here in Las Vegas. So there'll be more to come in that with the media, but what we're trying to do is be on the leading edge of innovation and bringing healthcare into Las Vegas. I heard tongue-in-cheek that there used to be a saying that the best healthcare you could get is at McCarran Airport. Somebody said that, right? I'm here to tell you that's not the truth. There's a lot of great providers right here in Las Vegas, and I will personally back up the ones at Mountain View. As a nurse, I can tell you that. So if you want to know more information, I can get you information on that program afterwards. But it's just an example of investments that we're making. And our rehab expansion, a lot of times when patients are in the hospital, or if they've had a stroke, or if they've had a debilitating illness, they need to have rehabilitation services. And interestingly, I'm an old rehab nurse. When I first started in nursing, that was one of my first areas of specialty, and working with patients as they recover and be able to get back up on their feet and into their home environment sometimes takes a lot of work. Has anybody ever been in a physical rehab facility? So you know what I'm talking about. They help you get stronger. There's physical therapy, occupational therapy, a whole variety, speech therapy and so forth that really helps people get back to independence. And that's a program we're super proud of, and I'm going to let Dr. Lee tell you all about that. And of course, we have cardiac rehab too. We have really amazing CV surgeons, open heart surgeons that are in our facility, as well as cath lab. We have the cardiologists and the surgeons all married together, and we have one of the top programs for cardiac care in the state. And that's another program that we provide to support patients once they've been through a procedure and need recovery. They have what's called cardiac rehab. So we have that available as well. I mentioned the emergency room expansion. That cannot happen fast enough because as you can imagine, with COVID and with the illnesses that are coming as a result of COVID, people are having a lot more illnesses. The other thing that we noticed is that people put off care because they were afraid to go to the hospital. So when they came in, they were even sicker. And actually for a while that worked to people's detriment because there's some people that waited too long. But the good news is that people are feeling more comfortable, they're coming in, they're getting care, we're trying to get people through rapidly and be able to treat people. But we definitely need more space. So that is something that we will have open by spring, an additional 20 treatment areas, and then the 64 beds will be online by the end of 2020. The emergency room in Sky Canyon is our newest addition to the family. Of course, that's north of here, but it's an example of a place that you can get emergency room care without going to a busy hospital. It bills the same way, Medicare covers it the same way. We have the same physicians that rotate through there as well as the same nurses, so it's essentially the same level of care. And if you need admission to the hospital, we will get you a ride to the hospital. That is just what we do. So if you are wanting to receive care, we've got an ER Sky Canyon as well as Aliante. And there's one on the south end of town too that's part of Southern Hills Hospital. But these are options for you to receive care if you think you need emergency room. We also have care now, urgent care centers. I want to say we've got 17 or 18 of them across the city, and that's another place that you can get care as opposed to going to a busy emergency room. So you can hear the nurse in me saying, get something if you feel like you need it. Find the lowest level first, but I want you to know options exist. I got right through that pretty quick, didn't I? There we go. So right now I'd like to open up if you have any questions at all that you would like to ask me.
Can't hear you very well.
Pardon?
Everybody can't hear you good over there.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me over here? Did I talk to you loud enough? Could you hear me? Okay. Any questions? Or?
We have a friend right now that's getting treatment for an elevator clear
Okay.
the bone marrow.
Okay.
Your facility is offering this now.
Yes.
Now that we didn't know about it.
Nope, we just opened it up a couple months ago, so very likely. But if that's something that you'd like to find out more and see if there's a way to transition or receive supportive care both ways, we can give you information on that.
Okay, thank you.
It's a long way to go out of state, isn't it? Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, do you have a question? Okay. So the main floor, talking about our outpatient physical therapy department, has physical therapy and cardiac rehab both. The outpatient, right? I don't think we closed down outpatient therapy in there, did we?
If you did,
That's cardiac only. Okay, that's right. Yes. Okay, so we're building a new parking garage, and that will be done in a couple of years too, but yes. But I would take advantage of LA too if you can.
When is the garage opening, the parking garage?
When will it open? Probably 23, I think it'll be 23.
There's not enough parking right now.
That's why we have the valet, but we're gonna put a great big parking garage on the corner of Tenaya and the hospital entrance. Yeah, it'll be like a 600 slot garage.
I heard you mention acoustic. Is it common for
We are encouraging it, yes. We are encouraging it. It's usually 6 months. So the question over here is, how come there's no transplant services in Nevada? Right now there isn't. I'm not sure if that will be in the future, but it's very complicated. And there's a lot of processes that go into it. It's a pretty special field. So you want to make sure when you do it right. And I think it's a matter of building it up from the ground and putting the infrastructure around it. And that's probably what the challenge has been to date, is having that available here. But I do see it on the horizon. Okay, question in the back?
Did I hear you say that you closed the outpatient rehab?
Our outpatient physical therapy we no longer provide. Yes, we partner with the outpatient, now that I'm remembering, we have physical therapy services that are that we know of, that we can refer people to in the community. There's lots of them. So yeah, that's good. Cardiac rehab, a little more special, but regular physical therapy, yeah. Okay, I think I will turn it over to Dr. Lee, and I am sure he can answer other questions for you too. Thank you so much for your time, it's been a pleasure. Oh, here's a clicker.
So hello everyone, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. My name is Siwon Lee. I'm a physiatrist. The doctor specializes in rehab, physical medicine and rehab. Have you seen physiatrists before? Or have you gone to the rehab clinic, outpatient rehab clinic? No? Okay, so that's good. I came to the right place. Okay, so I'll go over what I do at the end, but I'll focus on exercise to improve balance today. And during my talk, if you have any questions, just raise your hand or shout. So this is more of a lecture side. I usually give lectures to medical students or doctors who are in training. So this is not really great to follow, but basically today I'm going to go over what causes balance dysfunctions and also what we do to evaluate the balance dysfunctions. And also there is a guideline from the government, from the Center for Disease Control. So I will go over briefly what's the guideline. And also probably most beneficial part is I will go over some specific exercise you can do at home to improve balance. And also I will probably expand a little bit to general exercise to improve your health, your physical activities, and some modifications and challenge during the COVID pandemic. So we usually like to start with a case example. So this is not your patients, but I choose the Jane. I actually know her name. Jane is a 76-year-old female living in Sun City, Summerlin, and she feels unsteady and stumbles a few times for the last few months. And she has past medical history of high blood pressures and diabetes. And like many of us, she also has the neck stiffness, lower back pain, and knee pain. She recently started using cane, and she reported she tripped and fell only this year. She lives alone since she moved from Chicago in 2018. Does it sound familiar, or do you see any of your friends has a similar story? So this is actually the pretty typical patient profile that I see daily in the clinics. balance dysfunction is a great problem and issues. It's the leading cause of falls. And as you can see in this diagram, falls increase with aging. So in this, I don't know where is the pointers, but it increased, for example, with aging between 65 to 74 years old, about 26% of populations fall more than once. But if you're over 85, about 34%, 1 in 3, older adults falls. And then that fall, as you can see, leading to many, many different problems, including the hip fractures, and half of the patients who suffered hip fractures in older adults die within 2 years. So that's a serious health issues. And there's a slight different rate between the genders. So the female has a little higher rate of falls compared to male. And also there's a difference in the ethnicity. So you can see the white Caucasians has the higher rate than Asian and Pacific Islanders. And the American Indian and Alaskans has the highest rate. So whenever we see these statistics, we try to focus our resource to improve specific groups. But luckily, the state of Nevada has a lower incidence compared to our neighbors, California, Arizona. But they can be a little tricky. Maybe the problem is the statistic or reporting system. So we don't need to feel 100% safe. So the goal is, if you can do this, like these pictures, like someone in your neighbors, that would be great. However, I don't recommend. I'm sure your grandchildren, they keep falling and they keep trying. But ideally, if you can do the board, it can be the one great target. So what causes balance dysfunctions? So as you can see, there are some factors that you cannot really do much, like aging, for example. There's a way to reverse it. And there's some scientists working on it, but you'll be billionaires. And brain disorders. So there are strategies to prevent. But even if you do exercise and if you do right treatment, you can decrease balance dysfunctions or improve balance. And almost everyone eventually will have arthritis. And if you have a sprain or any muscle problems, also that can interfere balance. This is more specific. Inside our ears, there's a very small organs controlling the balance called inner ears. So if you have specific problems in the inner ears, they can cause specific balance with the spinning sensations, like everything is turning around you. Or if you have a neck problem, spine problems, or pinch nerve, you can also have balance dysfunctions. And one of the interventions to improve balance is to go to your eye doctors or optometrists, because the vision is very, very important for balance. And I'm sure everyone experienced in the dark night before you turn on the light, if you try to go to the bathroom, it's very challenging. And I see actually there's a very common situation for fall and fall-related injuries. So the vision is very important. And cognitive dysfunctions. If you have friends with the dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, you can see their balance is not great, their mobility is severely compromised. And how do you know you have balance problem or not? This is a simple questionnaires from National Institute of Aging. So you can go over. If you feel unsteady, how many people feel unsteady during the day? Okay, it's about 10-15%. And anyone feels the room is spinning around you, or even brief period of time? So that's another signs of. This is more specific for inner ear problems or some stroke-related balance issues. you feel as if you're moving when you know you're not, moving? Anyone has those symptoms? No? That's good. And do you lose your balance and fall? Anyone fell last year's or last 1 year's? So that's good. We are better than national average, And then actually, when I see you, I feel like, oh, this is my future. You are like a role model. You look very, very healthy. And then this town is really beautiful. I'm always crossing the Cheyenne Avenue drivings, and I always see the nice town next to it. But this is first time into the Sun City, and this is beautiful. And do you feel as if you're falling? Anyone? No. Okay, that's good. Do you feel lightheaded? So this will be relatively common in the morning when you wake up from the bed. When you try to stand up, immediately from the bed, you may feel a little lightheaded and dizzy. So sometimes if you're dehydrated, if you didn't eat good meal the previous night, you may feel a little more. And do you have the vision problem? If you see a little blurry, no one, right? That's good. And also another question is cognitive functions. Disoriented, sense of problem with the time, place, and identity. So the reason why I showed you this slide is if you have any of these symptoms, at least talk to your primary care doctors, and they will help you. Okay. So other than primary care doctors, is there anyone who doesn't have primary care doctor? It's great. So I know doctors are not necessarily very friendly. Sometimes you're busy. I'm not, but most of my colleagues are busy, and we are always short of time. But you have to keep us close in the group. Other than primary care doctors, you can see also neurologists and doctors like me, and eye doctors, as I said, for the vision check, and also ENT specialists for the ear problems. And if you come to my clinics or if you come to the primary care doctors, what do they do? What's the workup, we say? Typically, we do, we listen to you and try to get the right information. And then we're going to go over some physical exam. We're going to listen to your heart and listen to your neck sometimes. And then examine your nerve systems and your visions. Sometimes we order the test, whether you have decreased blood count or electrolyte abnormalities or heart issues and so on. If indicated, sometimes we order MRI of the brain or a CT scan of the brain. If we suspect the problem with the spine, sometimes we order X-rays, MRI of the neck. And I do specifically for the EMG test. That's basically a test for the nerves in the arms and legs. Because the nerve problems, usually related to the diabetes, can cause balance dysfunction too. And if you go to some ENT doctors, the ear, nose, throat surgeons, they may order a special test to check the vestibular functions. So after we do extensive tests, what do we do? What do we recommend? And a lot of components. You don't need to go to see the doctors. You can start right away, right? So this is actually from the CDC, Center for Disease Controls. What's the intervention strategies to improve balance? You can see in the right tables. So first of all, I want you to check your shoes, and if anyone wear the slippers, if you don't have a great balance, that's not great. So we recommend you to wear just a nice walking sneakers. So even wearing the proper shoes, not fancy shoes, right? We don't recommend wearing the heel. Yeah. Or sometimes the former shoe can be painful. If the shoe is a little narrower, if you have a foot pain, that doesn't make it better, that make it worse. So the wearing comfortable walking slipper is the first thing you can do. Another thing, who doesn't take vitamin D every day? How much? So that's the questions. Yeah, so I recommend, so everyone takes, basically. I don't see any raised hand, that's great. So we recommend, take the vitamin D for everyone, whether you're post-menopause, even before. How much is the questions? If you want to do really exactly the right dose, we can check the level. We can check the vitamin D level. But sometimes the insurance give us hard time, or they may ask you copay, high copay. So in general, after 65, we recommend about 2,000 international units if you don't have a significant deficiency. Okay? If you are taking 3,000 units, that's fine. That's okay. Vitamin D doesn't, if you take a lot, will come out with the urine. Okay? But you have to also take, the calciums, right? The vitamin D actually helps calcium to be absorbed and then go to our bone. But on top of that, it also has other role like hormones. So it affects the muscles, it affects the brain, it affects the heart. So it's good to see everyone's taking vitamin D. Don't worry about the dose too much. But if your primary doctors, medical doctor check the level, and we sometimes give a mega dose, like 50,000 once a week for a while, until it kind of goes to the near the normal range. Then you take the maintenance dose, okay? So take it, that's great, that everybody does. And the third one is you can go to optometrist, right? If you have glasses, time to time, or if you have diabetes, I'm pretty sure your primary doctors send you to the ophthalmologist, right? Eye doctors yearly. Whether you have problems or not, we recommend everyone with history of diabetes go to see eye doctors. If you don't have any problem, and if you didn't see eye doctors ever, well, for the last 5 years, I recommend you to go or talk to your primary doctors to give you, referral. That also you can do. And the other thing is what we are working on. So if all the others take too many medications, that increase the chance of fall and also other health issues. So we try to minimize, especially pain medications. There's no great pain medications. The pain is great, tremendously interfering our life, but any medications to relieve that also has the problem. So if you are taking strong pain medications, opioid medication, for example, that increase balance problems significantly. So we try to cut down that. How do we cut down? One of the first, in the tables, as you see, they refer to physical therapy. I'm sure who never went to the physical therapy before? Who didn't have experience with physical? So everybody went to physical therapy, right? So everybody has experience with the physical therapy. And then the most common complaints I hear from the patients is that I don't know what they are doing. It's a very common response from the patients. And then it's not worth your time. And sometimes there is a high copay. So the one advice I give every patient is that physical therapy is an educational process. And like everyone, like doctors, the quality varies. So you need someone actually, monitoring and, supervising physical therapy. Actually, that's how the PM&R, the rehab doctors, formed after World War II. But physical therapy sessions, you have to learn what you have to do after physical therapies. Most insurance covers 2 or 3 times per week, usually up to 2 or 3 months. That's not enough to improve balance or improve your physical health. You have to do exercise every day. I'm pretty sure when we talk to our children's, grandchildren's, right? They have to eat every day, 3 times, right? They have to study, read every day. That's what I told my daughters and my resident doctors too. And also, they have to exercise every day, right? So if you say you do about 30 minutes twice a week and try to improve your functions, which is impaired, that's not really, very effective. So the process, the physical therapy, occupational therapy, is an educational process. Because you are in pain, you have, the functional deficit, it takes more time. That's why they spend time with you to get you used to exercise. But eventually, you have to do on your own. But physical therapy, we are referring patients to improve or, teach the exercise. And then another thing is, if I say walk through this between the chairs, right? You will have difficulty going fast, right? If there is too much clutters, obstacles on the floor in your home, that will also increase the chance of falls, right? So at some point you have to get your, living
Mike's not working.
quarters and then see what you can do. Same thing, light on. Light has to be, bright, right? If it's dark, sometimes you don't see it. So that you have to also work on. The orthostatic hypotension, it means when you suddenly stand up from sittings or sit up from laying, you may feel lightheaded, you may feel dizzy, and we have seen some patients, lose the balance and fall. Right? The best strategy is, as I said, that's most common in the morning. So when you wake up, before you get out of bed, you can do simple exercise like we call ankle pump or foot pump. If you can see my leg, it's very simple, right? You can do, the pump, the foot up and down. You can make it habits like 20 times every day. You don't need to do fast. You have to do actually slow. Because our calf muscles, some doctors call it as a second heart. But it has a great capacity to circulate the blood, the artery. So if you use your calf muscles, first of all, that's great for the circulations. Second, it will decrease the dizziness, lightheadedness. And also, actually, it's good for the bone in the legs, bone density. So it's a great exercise you can do every day. Questions? Yep. So we briefly went over, you can do actually while you are sitting. You don't need to listen to my, broken English. You can definitely do an exercise while you are doing it. You can do multitasking. Okay? So when we send the patients to therapy, different therapy has expert in different areas. So you may see everybody knows about physical therapy, what they do, but some people don't know about occupational therapies and speech therapy. They can be good resource for your health. So in the frame of the global care or overall care, this balance issue belongs to mobility. There is a concept called the 4M. This is all the other geriatric care principles. So what really matters for all the others can be in these 4 categories in terms of health cares. Mobility is a good, the important issue. If you lose mobility, you lose independence. If you have a problem with the mentations, cognitive functions, memories, that's also significantly impacted. And also, as I said, medication is important to control your blood pressures, diabetes, and so on. So in terms of this 4M's framework, what we can do to improve balance or prevent fall. So we can do safety evaluation that I said briefly, and also how many of you have something to hold when you walk, like a cane, walkers? It's only ones? Okay, that's great. Okay, so different assistive devices are available for also safe ambulations. I will go briefly, and also exercise. So exercise, when I say, we all thinking about physical exercise to make your arms and legs stronger. But you have to do also the brain exercise. So if, doesn't really matter whether you're, over 65 or under 65, everybody has to do it. The great thing is for your kids or grandchildren, they are doing brain exercise every day, right? In schools, they're forced to do. But after schools, nobody told you, right? To exercise. This is very, as I said, the cognitive function is significantly related to balance dysfunctions. If you do brain exercise, you will improve your balance too. And more importantly, it will improve your medications, will decrease chance of having Alzheimer's and dementia. So brain exercise is not very difficult. If you do whatever you like, if you like to dance, you do dance. If you like to play cards, I'm not sure about money gambling, but you can play cards. You can do Sudoku, you can do word puzzles, whatever you like. The best one is, I told my patients all the time, I know sometimes stressful, but you can talk about what's happening every day with your husband and wife or your friend. So what's going on outside? As I said, it can be, I don't want you to talk about politics or something stressful, but daily activities or daily news, if you just go over, that's a great exercise for the memory, especially we call it short-term memory. So those exercises, having our conversations every day, that will help your brain. And also, I do a lot in the clinics. We try to minimize the pain, as I said, without going too far in terms of medications, which can give you problems. And this is just an example of we call adaptive equipments, what we can do in your home to make it safer. This is usually being done with occupational therapy. So if you come to the rehab clinics, we refer you to occupational therapy. Some occupational therapists will visit your home and they give you suggestions. Some insurance covers, and some items can be reasonable, not too expensive. But if you need, also there is a resource available. I heard the raised sit, I'll go over that a little later. And then different type of assistive device. So if you can walk with a cane, that's great. And one of the common also comments from the patients that they don't want to use the cane because it makes them look old. So the cane can be, first of all, great for the balance, but also it decreases the pain a lot. If you have, especially the hip pain or the knee pain, because it decreases the weight on the specific joint in the legs. So that actually helps you to walk much better, easier, on top of increase the balance. And if you go, I know the most of my patients' most favorite is we call rollator or four-wheel walker, because it has a sit. So when you walk, in the shopping mall, you can sit down time to time. I don't recommend, sitting too much, but there can be the good alternative. The problem is that depending on what level, how bad your balance is, the rolling walker can be tricky. You can see that it can slide forward and backward. So you have to talk to at least a physical therapist or the doctors. So home exercise, I'm going to the essence of the talk. So this is a general tip I give everyone, and my resident doctors also give everyone. So So if you go to, next time you go to physical therapy, I want you to bring your significant others, spouse, or caregivers, and then at least they can learn the exercise together. Because I don't remember everything that I learned every day, so I need to write it down. But sometimes if you have an extra set of ears, they can help you, and they can, you can work together. Okay, that's good. And then when you start any exercise, don't be too ambitious. Just try to go slow and easy. So one of the key principles of rehabilitation is if you go slow and gradual, you wouldn't have problem. Also, that's the problem of the cancer. A lot of cancer is growing very slow, so we don't have any symptoms. If anything occurs abruptly, rapidly, like a broken bone, you're gonna know, nobody can miss that. But saying broken bone, like from the stress or we call it insufficiency, that occurs gradually. Sometimes patients don't know whether they are the foot bones or the bone in the knee. But reversely, if you approach anything gradually, steadily, will give you less troubles and problems. So go slow and go easy, light. And if you have heart problems or any significant medical problems, whenever you try to walk outside and do exercise, you start with the warm-up and you finish with cool down. So first 5 minutes, you just go very, very slow before you go to gym, and then walk fast, very slowly, and then at the end, even if you feel fine, decrease the speed or inclination slowly. So the warm-up and cool down is very, very important to decrease heart problems and other issues related to the intense exercise. And another thing is, if you know several names of exercise, you can search in the YouTube, you can ask. In the YouTube, there's everything. Surprising. And when you search in the YouTube or in the computer, just to put another word for the others, not because you're in the age categories, but it's easier to start, easier to follow. So for example, chair rising exercise, if you search that exercise in the YouTube, try to search chair rise exercise for all the adults. There are so many organizations and the university, government, they try to develop the resource, exercise friendly to you, to follow, okay? So I like those exercises, chair rise exercise, 2 feet stance exercise, tandem stance, we'll go over briefly. So I'm working with geriatric department at UNLV, and we try to actually develop some educational materials for all the adults. And this is one of the tips of exercise, specifically for balance dysfunctions. So as I said, chair rise exercise, everybody can do it, right? If I have more time, I usually let our audience, everyone wants to do. The tricky part is that if you sit on the lower chair, it will be very difficult. So don't try to start on your sofa. You can start with high chairs, okay? And then there are many ways to do it. Initially, you can use your arms to help you stand. But eventually, we want you to develop the strength in the muscles near the hip joint, like the core muscles and the hip muscles. It's very important for balance. If you lose balance, you need some muscle to catch up, right? So it's the core principles. And then the tandem gait or tandem stance. I know if you're caught by the police, they usually check, right? Because you can imagine that alcohol will decrease balance function, right? Yeah, the police will will decrease the balance function. So easy way is to, if they, ask you to walk on the straight line, like we call tandem walk, if you, fall off the lines, there is a problem with the balance. I don't want you to fall on the floor, so you can start with just doing the one foot front of the others. This can be challenging. You will be surprised if you do it. I don't want you to fall, so what you can do is you can start in the corner of the room in your bedrooms. In the corners, if you face the corner of the room, just like 2 feet away, and if you try to do this exercise, and then if you fall, the wall will prevent, right? From you, from falling. So you can do this exercise safely, but it's much easier if you go to, the physical therapist probably a few sessions. But those exercises, there are YouTube videos, there are video available, so you can follow those exercises. Matter of fact, one of our therapists is working with the UNLV and trying to develop video series. So we are almost done, so we'll be in the website pretty soon. And because Jane has knee arthritis and the low back pain, and there are specific exercises for those problems. So there are many exercises, available for specific problems, and there are a lot of overlapping. And you can be greedy in exercise. You can do everything. You don't need to do everything at the same time. It will be challenging and sometimes will discourage you. But you can divide it. You can do something in the morning, something after lunch, something after dinner. So important principle is we want everyone to exercise at least more than 30 minutes every day, even if you don't have any medical conditions. If you have medical conditions, we want you to do a little more. So like 30 minutes to 1 hour, okay, at least. So like some people say the PMNR doctor is an exercise fanatic. And exercise, I'm sure everybody knows exercise is important and help you. Any problem with exercise? The answer is very short, minimum, almost none. Okay, if you do safely, if you do follow or discuss with the physicians. So these are the couple of issues with the exercise. Mostly, it's more of the extreme group. Like does anyone runs more than 20 miles per week, right? Yeah, this may be, this overuse injuries. And I was very happy to see everyone's taking vitamin D. And I'm sure a lot of your primary doctors ordering the bone density. So some of you may take the special medication for bisphosphonate. Temperatures, I guess you will well know about issues. So even in the winter time, in Las Vegas, just be careful, and during the summer definitely dehydrate, drink as much. Same thing if you go to marathon or like if you run 20 miles. Sometimes drinking can be an issue. If you drink too much, it can be causing some electrolyte imbalance. But for most of us, if you feel thirsty, drink water. That's a good, actually, signal from our body. This is a more medical approach that we classify exercise. One is, least burdening to heart and the muscles, and categorized, but it's hard to read. I cannot even read nowadays. I have to change my glasses. Billiard, bowling, cricket, I don't know, golf. Anyone play golf? I was very surprised, impressed by the golf course here, like on the driving here. It's a beautiful town. Golf it's hard to say. It's a great exercise for the time, but it's a good, I guess, social interactions and events. So if you do, keep doing it. but some exercise. I don't expect you to boxings and most of exercise. It can be very tricky, so we don't really recommend. If you plan to do those exercises or triathlon, you have to probably talk to primary doctor. Sometimes we do exercise stress test. Because if you do suddenly like an extreme version of exercise, it may be too much for your heart. So we want you to make sure that you're ready for that. And sometimes we even specify the frequency, intensity, mode of exercise, and giving the patient this prescription pen explaining the exercise. So there is a very important study for us, for physicians, that if you have a sedentary lifestyle, how many of you sitting on chairs more than 8 hours? Yeah, a day. Oh, it's not many. I see about a third or a quarter. So that increases the mortality. So that really actively decreasing your lifespan. Right? I don't want it, right? You don't want it. How to reverse that? There's a way. You have to do, it's not easy. You have to do 1 hour exercise daily to counter that, like 8 hours of sitting time. This is from many, many different studies, very well-designed studies. So if you do, because in no time for me, like I'm sitting on desk kind of all day, and sometimes I watch TV after work. It's more than 8 hours, and it doesn't really count, the time on laying, sleeping. But if you sleep more, you have to also take into account. So I don't want to emphasize that part, but the positive side of this slide is that if you do exercise 1 hour, you can increase your lifespan. You can live longer. There are not many things we do actually in medicine to increase lifespan. There is some controversy about this. If you don't have any medical problem, if your body is perfect, there is a little less effect of exercise to increase lifespan. But if you have a high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, cholesterol, if you do exercise 1 hour with a moderate intensity we call, means you feel a little hard when you do exercise, then it will increase your lifespan. I guess time's up. The last thing is mind-body exercise. Does anyone do yoga, meditations? That's great, okay. So, in summary, I strongly recommend you to continue. Yeah. So mind-body exercise is a great, sometimes yoga can be a little tricky. So if you want to start yoga exercise, just to find the instructors who is familiar with all the others. Because some of the positions can be a little tricky. And some are very experienced with the different, the patient population. So I recommend that. And it gives you extra benefit on top of the helping your general health. It can decrease the pain, and also it
I have to leave early. I have a Zoom class for Molly.
The last slide is, eat the right food, right? So the diet. I'm sure you have heard numerously about Mediterranean styles, and we even for specific diet for the meat diet. So if you go to see neurologist or cardiologist, you may hear this, the specific diet. But basically, eat healthy Mediterranean styles, nuts, and also, the fish, green vegetables. Sometimes you can be careful. You have to be careful to take specific anticoagulant, but you definitely talk to your primary doctors. But healthy diet will be also an important component. Okay, with that being said, that's it for the lectures. And I'm practicing in Mountain View. I think the advantage of our clinics is that we have endless time for you. We're not as busy as private doctors. My role here is to train the doctors to be specialists in PM&R. So our focus is patient care is the first and the education. So we don't schedule patients like every 15 minutes, 30 minutes. So you can discuss everything you want with our resident doctors and me in the clinic. I do some injections. I do joint injections, knee pain, shoulder pain. I do diagnostic ultrasound